This is episode 146 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 146 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Back at it again. I've got TJ Harb on the show today. And TJ Harb is a name you might recognize if you're in the Burlington area because he owns Harb's Plumbing, which in my mind, at least from a marketing standpoint, is the most prevalent plumbing company here in town. He's done very well for himself. He has a very established business, and he's also got his hand into building. He's flipping high value rental properties. He's flipping high value single family homes and sort of doing everything in between. So he's a serial entrepreneur and just a really well-spoken, easy to talk to guy. And we had a great conversation. So I'm hopeful that you'll enjoy the episode as much as I did enjoy recording it. As always, if you're new to the show, I recommend go right back to episode 1, work your way through, especially if you're new to real estate investing. If you're an established real estate investor, you might still appreciate all the guests that we've had on this show because we've had some really great ones going right back to the beginning. If you're enjoying the show, I ask you take a moment and rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. If you haven't already done so there, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the episode. And without further ado, please enjoy episode 146 with TJ Harb. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have TJ Harb on the show. Long story about how we got to this point. But first off, TJ, thanks for doing this.
I really appreciate it, my friend. Appreciate you having me over. And, I'm a big fan of the podcast. And, I really appreciate you giving me some time.
Yeah, man. Well, so interesting story. I think we met through a friend, a mutual friend of
my
yours.
friend Cameron, absolutely.
Yeah. And so he had reached out to me. You guys had bought like a fourplex, I think.
We did, in Burlington.
Yeah.
We bought our first fourplex. We're usually into the single family dwellings, but we took the plunge and, went into a multi, right? Our first small multi, so.
Right, and the interesting thing, the Harb name, I noticed that because I had dealt with the previous version of that company, the plumbing company here in Burlington, kind of the go-to.
For sure.
So you took it over. So you're not just a real estate investor, you're an entrepreneur.
I bought the company from my uncle probably maybe 5 years ago, and we took it to another level, right? So it was a small mom and pop shop, right? And we try to turn it into a corporation, right? So we've added a lot of employees, vans, advertising, right? And, the other thing was my dream's real estate, right? So I've always wanted to build and rent and whatnot. So it's nice because they kind of go both hand in hand, right?
Give me a little bit of backstory. Like, how'd you get into real estate, like entrepreneurship? Where did it all start for you? Was it as a kid or, where did it click?
Well, the thing is that, ever since I was little, my dad, being who he is, just kind of always pushed me towards work. And, if you weren't going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, you had to kind of specify, right? So I did have my love for plumbing and, which kind of also flipped into real estate as well because you're in and out of people's homes all the time. We also do renovations as well. So we do bathrooms and kitchens. So when you do flips, you're tearing everything out, putting it back in, right?
It's familiar, right?
Exactly. So I believe that they go hand in hand, So it's good that we learn the trade, and also, instead of hiring people, I get to do it myself.
Now, are you still on the tools?
I am.
So you're the owner of the business.
I am.
That's crazy that you find the time. That's the hardest part for me to wrap my head around.
Sure.
Is like, how do you have the time to be the owner of the business, to be the oversight and into the business operations, marketing, the vision,
I know,
and still be on the tools? I'm curious.
You know what? It's a lot of people would say it's balance, but if you talk to my wife, it's definitely not balance. But we have a lot of different aspects of my business. So a lot of people, we got over 30 employees. So we try to delegate as much as we can. But as for myself, I work 12 to 14 hour days, I'm sure like yourself and a lot of other people. And sometimes we just make it work, especially with, I'm not there doing tiling and whatnot, but we're there doing, the overseeing of the jobs and whatnot. So you'd say I'm, not 100% in real estate, but you could call it 50%. So kind of 50% into my business and 50% into real estate.
Yeah. So your day to day with the plumbing company is more going to sites and overseeing what's happening, and a little bit on the tools.
For sure. No, so what I do is I spread out my days. So sometimes I'm on the tools, which would mean I'm, putting in a bathroom for a customer, or I'm roughing in an addition and whatnot, or I'm on one of my flips or one of my buildings and we're doing a bathroom there, or we're doing demo, right? So I kind of split up my time in between the both, right? So.
Man, I think it's just so useful, because I know with my first property that I did a big reno on,
sure.
I just wanted to understand everything. I felt so helpless not understanding what went into things, like how much work and how much material, what the cost, what drove the cost, because not knowing that stuff made me feel like anyone could just take advantage of me.
Absolutely.
So coming at it and being in that business, no one can blow smoke on you, right? You just have a step up over the average.
And you know what? That's the unfair advantage, I guess you'd say, that I have against that, because there's a lot of people that told me, if it was easy, everyone would do it, or you can't do it all yourself. I don't do it all myself. We hire guys, but I also find the time where, if it would cost you, say, $30,000 for a bathroom, it's costing me $5,000, right? Because we have the guys that are on the hourly basis, and it's not a quoted job, right? So
you take the guys from your company at cost, pretty much,
exactly,
to do all your renos.
Absolutely,
oh man,
absolutely.
That's the way to go.
and again, that's what drove me to it, because I bought my first condo, I'd say 2013 or 14, and I bought it for $228, which was, I'd say a steal at the time, $224, I believe. And 6 months later, I sold it for $328. I only put $30,000 into it. You know what I mean? And obviously some of the carrying costs, condo fees and whatnot. But when I was 22 years old, make $60,000 in a 6 month basis from the time I bought it to resale is pretty good, right? So I actually almost ran out of money because, like you just said, costs and how much it's going to cost and whatnot. And I actually didn't take a few things into consideration, and on my first flip I ran out of money. So but you learn, right? So
it's funny, like when you have to find a way, you find a way, right? You ran out of money. Well, this is going to finish one way or another.
Oh, it finished.
Yeah. I finished that first big renovation I was telling you about. I think I had like $60,000 in credit card debt.
I literally feel you on that one. I literally feel you on that one.
For me at the time, that was just like, like anxiety provoking, like that nausea feeling, almost throwing up.
For sure. And that's literally how ever since that we've been getting on these bigger projects, that's kind of that feeling that I've been getting. Once you get into the, and for me, a couple $1 million for a building, and then you have to renovate, it costs another $200,000-$300,000. Not a lot of people have that kind of down payment and whatnot to take the carrying costs and keep things going, right? So it is a bit scary at times, right? But like you said, you always find a way, especially when I have partners, and a couple of my partners, that's kind of what can help you go to another level, right?
So tell me about that, like the general structure of your business. Like you mentioned, now you've got multi-million-dollar businesses. Mm-hmm. Is this your money, or is this partner money? Is this promissory note, borrowed money? Like what's the story?
For sure. Like a lot of the times we got our own money, which we obviously started off with, right? So when I was doing flips by myself, we'd do single family dwellings, do, one a year or two a year. And also I'd be running my own plumbing company, right? So after that, it turned into, hey, how can we take it to another level? And, a lot of people are scared of, private loans and all that. And as sad as it might be, I really haven't had my own lender in quite some time, because I own my own business. It's tough to get that, right? So I'll take the private lender, I'll take the 10% money and turn that into a building, refi, pay the people back, right? So been learning quite a bit about VTBs. When I first heard that word, I kind of ran with it, because we bought 4 places this year.
Vendor take backs?
Vendor take backs, right? So
4 people gave you vendor take back mortgages?
4 people gave us vendor take backs this year, so which is huge, right? So
yeah, for anyone not familiar with that, that's when the seller gives you a mortgage on the place that you're buying. So hugely advantageous, because you can often, like I've heard some crazy stories of people getting 1% interest, 2% interest, right? You just negotiated it. Hey, you want your price? I'll give you your price.
Absolutely.
You give me my interest rate.
Absolutely. And as long as they're getting their money, I don't think they really care. They own these buildings. They've owned them. They bought it at, a few $100,000. Now it's worth a couple million. So,
right. And a lot of them don't even know what they would do with the money, right? So what would the typical offer or interest rate, like when you build that into your offer, what would you typically offer them?
I'd say anywhere between 6 and 8%.
Okay.
Usually on something like that, when we're taking private loans or, borrowing 500 for the reno or borrowing 500, we're taking it at 10%, right?
Yeah.
We're not scared of that. A lot of people are, I'm sure
Yeah.
and they get deterred by that. They hear 10% and the fees, but where our margins are, again, we kind of incorporate that into the money I save us, in renos and the cost of putting my sweat equity into it, right? So a lot of people would never touch that kind of money, but we do, and that's what helps us buy another building, buy another building, buy another building. It helps you scale, right? So hopefully your cap rate and you're making some money, but
well, you got to put it in perspective, right? Like, I just don't believe that there's really a way to build wealth without investing, and primarily investing in real estate. So you're kind of playing the game that was sort of rigged against us, right? Those who just work the job. I saw an infographic a couple of days ago about the average house in Vancouver and the average wage in Vancouver, and how long it would take to save up 20% if you made the average wage. Like, so I think they were assuming like $2,000 of savings a month. It'd take you like 40 years.
I was about to say 20, 30 years at least, right?
But then what's happened to the house value? It's gone up, right? So although it's anxiety provoking, that nausea feeling of taking a step is almost, I look at it as a good thing. If I'm not feeling that nausea feeling at least, once a month, I'm not doing enough.
Or you're not doing your job, right? Or, and that's the thing too. A lot of the people are scared to take that jump. My dad told me if it was this easy to get into real estate, everyone would do it and whatnot, right? So things you learn and take into consideration of, hey, I have this advantage, but when I bought that place for $228, I think I only put down like $40K, and that's all I had,
Right,
so
yeah.
just for me to take $40,000, because that took me, like took me a few years because I'm a plumber, right? And
yeah.
To take all that money and throw it away, in essence, to buy a place, that was really scary. But you reap the benefits after if you keep it going, right?
Yeah, especially if you can hold on to them, right? If you don't sell them, right? Like, I look at the student rentals I bought, and I have sold them now, but I mean, I waited many years and just experienced, like, at the time when I refinanced them, I was about 20% equity, which is great, sweat equity.
100%.
But then what it's done since
Absolutely.
has been life changing.
Absolutely, and the thing is too is, you got appreciation. Market alone this year went up 20 points, right? So if you had property, your house went up 20 points just this year alone, right? So,
right.
People think it's about quick money, but like you said, if you can hold on to it, real estate is life-changing.
Well, it's becoming now, I just think, necessity, because inflation, if we're really factoring in cost of living, and I know Mark Loffer, when I argue with him about it, he never agrees with me. But I mean, I think we're actually like 25-35% actual inflation. If we're going to get all the BS out of the way, and we're going to factor in what it actually costs people to live in this country, I think we're actually there. So how do you ever keep up with that if your job didn't give you a 30% raise a year? You're getting a pay cut each year. So that's where I think that real estate, it's like you can just borrow other people's money, own that asset, and then watch inflation make you wealthy.
Absolutely, and a lot of people don't know that, So that's why there's people like you and people like myself who try to tell people. Now, everyone knows it's hard to get your first place, but it's just get your foot in the door. Just get it. Take the plunge, get it going, and like you said, after some time, you will reap the benefits of it, right? And people don't know about refi.
Well, it doesn't take that much time anymore, right? Yeah, but you're right. They don't think that refi terms.
They don't like it though, right? And I didn't know about refi until about 5-6 years ago, and it's hopefully this doesn't air, but I've never read a book, but I learned from people like yourself. I listen. I got a lot of mentors that try not to do what they did and kind of take all that information and process it, because I do a lot of talking and a lot of listening. So for me to say, I'm not too proud to say I haven't read a book, but all the information I've gathered, it's like a book to me, but it's visual, it's there, so that's how I learned.
Well, it's about the influences, right? There's more than one way to do it.
For sure.
I mean, I don't love physically reading that much. I'm not the fastest reader. Yeah. So I do a lot of audiobooks, podcasts.
For sure. That's like kind of myself. I like to, visually learn as well, right? So.
Yeah, doing nothing beats that.
No.
Nothing beats the actual executing and trying something.
Losing some money.
Losing some money is a great teacher,
you
man.
know, absolutely. You know,
the stress, the anxiety, all that stuff that goes with it. I mean, man, you'll never forget that lesson.
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about like kind of the evolution, some projects you're working on right now, like what they look like, what the numbers look like? I mean, I know they used to just be a simple flip. You kind of indicated that. So what's a project look like now?
Projects these days are looking like we're getting into the market of buying and flipping buildings. So getting a fourplex.
Was that a flip? The one I saw that one.
Yeah, it's for sale now. We're washing our hands from it because we're trying to get into another building that we want. There's a 9-plex that we have, like, you know, a little bit of an inside, if you will, on it. So hopefully trying to sell the 4-plex to get the 9-plex. But what they consist of is usually we're buying these places that have, you know, the low rent, the tenants that you kind of don't want in there.
Which is really common now, right?
You know, especially with COVID these days, it's, you know, very hard to, you know, deal with this kind of stuff. And unfortunately with the land tenant board, it's, you know, the owner's the enemy. And some of these projects, what we're doing is we're buying places that, like I said, have these tenants that you don't want, you know, paying the low rents and trying to get them relocated to a different place, flipping that whole building and turning it into Airbnb.
Also, Airbnb is your strategy now.
We're getting into Airbnbs. My friend Cameron and his wife, they starting to rent the building from us, and they'll open up their own Airbnb business and kind of go from there, right? So at least we're getting market rent. I'm not worried about it. No expenses paid, you know, for me at the end.
Yeah.
And they're kind of taking care of everything else after that, right?
Is Cam partnered with you on a few of these deals?
Yes, he is.
Is he a regular partner or just on some stuff?
So depends on which projects there are. So some obviously, you know, we all can't go in on them. I can't be a partner on everything, right? So he's definitely one of my partners on a few of these places. I got another partner, Sam, who's my brother-in-law, and he's the one that also helps us get private funding and whatnot and organizes. So the company's kind of got a little bit of different plays. You got a guy that helps get the money, myself who does the renos, Cam that manages and also gets the private funding as well. So we kind of work as a team to, you know, get that money, find it. My job is to renovate it, make us money, right? And kind of move forward with that. But, you know, we just bought a building on Branch Street, downtown Burlington, probably, I'd say 6 months ago for 1.5. It was up for sale for 1.2. We overbid by, you know, $300K. We went in pretty heavy with that, but we ended up finding out that the bid before us was 1.475. So we weren't really too far off. 25 grand, you know, in real estate's not that much. The only reason why I did that was because I got a house down the street, single family dwelling, that I just got appraised at 1.1. You know, so 1.2 on Branch Street didn't make any sense to me, right? So again, we bought it, got all the tenants out, and we flipped it top to bottom. So we just got offered the other day for somebody to buy it at 2.3.
How many units was that?
It's a 3-plex.
So a 3-plex for
triplex,
1 point, what did you say?
1.5.
You bought it for 1.5. Wow, so that's, holy crap, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You're buying for $500K a unit in Burlington.
Yeah.
I mean, can you justify, is there a world where you can justify that from a cash flow?
You know what the thing is, when we turn it into the Airbnb, absolutely, because you're going to be making more than $3K a unit at least. You know, our mortgage right now on that with the down that we put on is only $5K.
Yeah, so you'd be about 0.6. So we talk about 1% roll, you'd be about 0.6 if you were $3K per unit.
Sure.
So,
and like I said, we're not really buying them for cash flow purposes necessarily. Again, there's the resale value also, and also, like you said, the appreciation. So we're able to hold on to these properties and eventually get that cash flow and hopefully turn it into, you know, a better cash flowing business as well, right?
So the idea is buy a building like that, renovate it, sell it to another investor.
I would hope so, yeah.
And then take that money and keep trying to scale up, keep trying to go to the next bigger.
Exactly, because the amount of money that we spent on renovating it would cost somebody else an immense more, right? So we spent $150 on it, renovating 3 units top to bottom, kitchens, bathrooms, windows, landscaping, roof, everything. You know, it would cost the average person probably $300, if not more, to do something.
So you've
like
got
that,
a competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I've said on this podcast. When I started my construction company, the first version of it was the biggest benefit was that I could have full-time employees,
Absolutely.
insured, working on my sites, never leave.
Never.
And they're just always working for that hourly.
Absolutely. And that's where you scale up. That's where they're happy making their rent, their money. And at the same time too, you're not paying a quoted price.
Yeah.
You know, so that's that unfair advantage again, but it takes years to build that kind of crew.
It does, like to do it well.
100%.
And you have to go through all the headaches. And I've been on the fence with it. I certainly do like the idea of outsourcing and not being directly in control.
Well, I can definitely agree with that because I'm there all the time, you know, and it gets a bit stressful as well.
Yeah.
That's what there's a point of a GC, right?
Yeah.
So we're saving costs, GC costs. We're
right.
The whole point is saving. But like you said, it's that anxiety and that stress that gets to you eventually, right? So
yeah, but you're seeing the dollars. That kind of cures the anxiety.
Puts a smile right on your face.
There is that point where just like, damn, I don't really want to be involved in this right now.
Absolutely.
So, I'm actually about to take a stab at hiring my first GC.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
Florida.
Let's go. Why not?
Florida. So I can't really be there that
How is
that
it down
reasonably. In what regard?
Like as in like the real estate.
Well, so Cape Coral's been the market I've been focused on, and Southwest Florida, nice and warm below that frost line, so they never really get frost down there.
Absolutely.
And I bought a handful of lots in the $25,000 to $30,000 range, and so kind of looking at like a $360,000 build with a pool, 1,880 square foot house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath.
That's awesome.
And it seems like those are going for about 500 right now. So there seems to be maybe approximately $100K margin less realtor fees. So as a production model, that actually isn't bad. It's the timing, the permits. Those are some of the challenges. So, but I mean, if I'm not involved, then I can raise that money. And I mean, if I'm not day to day involved, of course I'm involved. So it kind of allows me that opportunity to scale it. And that was part of a play. I think, I'm not sure if you heard me talk about this, for getting the American visa.
I did.
So they sort of stipulated to me that the lawyer, he stipulated to me that I would need to build at least one in cash.
Yes.
Because they just don't like debt.
Yes.
From an immigration standpoint. I don't know why, but I guess it's with real estate that
they just want you to
they have so many people
properly,
that just throw money in.
Absolutely.
And they're not even there. So
sure.
I guess it's their way of stopping people from getting it too easily.
Well, which makes a bit of sense, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
For them, not for us,
them.
Right?
So I think there's some loopholes around it. And I'm actually going to do like a little episode talking about this, but potentially raising the money here in Canada, borrowing it here, and then taking it down there. That's different, right? So
it makes sense, actually.
I don't
not
think
really borrowing from them,
Yeah,
right?
they don't want to, like your debt against the equity or against the asset down there,
That makes perfect sense.
Can we go through that deal that you did with Cam, the one you got listed for sale? Mm-hmm. Do you mind talking about that one? So that was a 4-plex in Burlington.
Yeah.
Not too many people I know buying investment properties like for like rental here in town. Mm-hmm. What'd you guys end up buying that one for?
I believe 1.8 or 1.85. Now the building was already renovated except for one unit, so we really didn't have to do too much to it. We updated, landscaping and, certain things, paint and whatnot, right? And I believe right now it's up for sale for 2.2 or 2.3.
Okay, so 2. And what did you figure you put into that?
Not much, maybe 40K.
40K?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was already renovated. And that's the one, that one actually we got a partial VTB on as well.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of helped us as well with the mortgage.
And have you been cash flowing? Like, did you get the tenants out? And
yeah. So what happened was we ended up actually getting it vacant. So
it was fully vacant.
It was fully vacant.
So you just got to rent it at a market rate.
So we just got to rent it at market rent. So each rent's around $2,250.
So $2,250.
Yeah, plus parking, $50 each.
Okay, so $2,300 a unit.
Yeah.
So let's just work through what that looks like, because I'm very curious to see a Burlington cash flow here. Did you, and I know I was talking to you guys about potentially adding a unit. Did you end up doing that?
Well, you know how it is with the city and permits and all that, right? It's not easy at all. And especially when you have to get rezoned, because it's zoned as a 4-plex right now, right? So
okay, it wouldn't allow for more.
They won't allow for a 5-plex, but we actually found a kind of way around it, which we can turn it actually into an office. So we got the permits finally to finish the reno. It has a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen, but we actually made a loophole where we can turn it into an office, and there might be that person where you can do shared office and whatnot in the basement, at least to make an extra maybe $1,000-$1,500 a month.
I would think so.
And that's kind of adds on to that 2,250 times 4, right? So
yeah, you would be 9,200
absolutely
with the parking. And potentially add on 1,000, but you haven't done that yet. So that's just potential value for somebody buying.
Exactly.
What are the taxes on that building? Do you know?
I want to say 7,000 maybe.
7,000, and then insurance on a building like that probably like 2,500.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
Well, maintenance, we're cutting the grass.
Right. So you've got no management there.
No management.
You got enough capability here in town. Landscaping, you're cutting the grass. Landscaping, snow plowing, those are like two things that...
so we got the plows on our trucks.
Yeah.
So we go by there in the morning, plow it. We have the plows already on our trucks, and because my friend used to own a landscaping company.
Oh, yeah?
And now he works with me. So,
got this in-house. So there's obviously a cost to that, but it's a lot less, right? So
it's a lot
we're
less.
Probably like $800 a year or something for all that.
At least.
Yeah. Okay, and then as far as utilities go, what do you guys have to pay there?
So the only thing that we pay is water.
Only water?
Only water. So
maybe like
else
$100 a month or something like that?
I'd say a couple hundred for sure.
Okay, so we'll say $2,400 a year. Okay, will it cash flow? That's the game we're playing here.
Let's find out.
Okay, so based on so say you got an appraisal at 2.2 million, you did 75% financing. Right now, I think, you'd be at a 25-year mortgage. That's the only...
Yeah, we put 30% down.
Oh, you put 30 down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so say you were doing 70%. That's a 1.54 million. So you'd have some money into that deal, but not that terribly much.
No.
So at 2.2%, which I don't think you'd get that commercially. So you'd be more like maybe
3.99.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think you'd need to be that high.
So it depends on what banks you go with, If you're with the Home Trust, the Equitable, right?
Home or Equitable. But I think you've sold yourself a little short. I think you're potentially a lending candidate, depending on how you structure yourself.
Now we are for sure. I'm telling you that.
So say you're 3% even. Yeah. You're break even on that building. So the real play is how much more will rents climb? Because we've both seen rents climb a lot in the last year, right?
Crazy amount.
It trails. All these things are connected. I think too many people think in isolation. They see construction costs go up and they don't realize that's going to directly translate into resale homes going up.
Absolutely.
And the same thing when resale homes go up, you maybe got a 2-year lag, but you'll see rents climb. They have to.
Which is insane, right?
Yeah, I've seen in London huge growth in rents, and you'll have a little ups and downs as they go up.
For sure. But they're always going up, just like the market.
Right.
It'll soften or it'll blow up or whatever it does, but it always stays up there, right?
So that's a play I would do, and I'd almost be inclined to take that little basement and Airbnb it or something, and then everything's gravy, right?
Absolutely, everything's gravy
because you're basically break even at the existing. Now you do have some money into it. You'd be a mortgage of 1.54, and you'd have into it 1.89 or so, plus you're carrying whatever that was. But if let's just say 1.9 for simplicity, so you're in for about $360,000 in that scenario. So it works if you have that money to sit. If you're paying a private lender to borrow that 360, that's not going to work.
No, it doesn't make sense. No, absolutely not. No, that we bought with our own money, which is part of the reason why, keep it, park it, because buildings in Burlington, they're really hard to come up and really hard to come across. If they don't get passed down from father to son or grandfather to father, or they don't get sold at a really high price, they really never often actually go on the market. And that's why we kind of jumped on it, because hey, fourplex Burlington, I'm a Burlington boy, right? So I believe in this market. Really haven't tested my waters too much, tested the waters in other areas of real estate. Because I've been finding that Burlington real estate is insane, and
there's a way to make money anywhere,
sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
I just think with this market, we've kind of went through the scenario that deal makes sense. Now, of course, you selling it, you guys are going to make your spread, you're going to make some money, and then
get our money back, right?
And plus some, and then you can reuse that and reinvest it.
For sure, and a lot of people too, they try to get real estate with that quick game, right? If we could hold this building for another 10 years or 20 years, well,
that's where you're going to see the difference,
right? And that's where these people saw the difference when they bought the building at $500K or $800K, and it's sold at 1.8. So they're that growth, and they paid their mortgage obviously off, and there's a couple $1 million in their pocket after 10 years, 15 years, right? So
Yeah, that's the critical thing. Like if you think about it, like even paying 3% on a mortgage, yeah, you've got your amortization, which is what makes it hard.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it as you're getting paid to borrow because your loan is devaluating at the rate of inflation. So if real inflation is closer to 30%,
Yeah.
which I would argue, then you're basically getting paid 27% on the money you're borrowing.
Beautiful, right?
And that's why people in real estate get so wealthy.
Exactly. And
We've always known this. It's just in the last couple of years, it's been
getting out there, right?
Astronomically, like exponentially grown.
I think, to be honest with you, when I found out about refi and refinancing is when
Sort of like the BRRRR model, like go back and refinance it instead of selling it.
Exactly. And there's a lot of places where I wish I never sold.
Yeah.
If I heard about that or maybe read a book for once, then I could have learned that a bit earlier. But once I heard that word, it was just kind of game over after that. That's when you start scaling. It's when you start taking your money out and refinancing and putting it in different places and do it again and again and again. And like you said, if you can hold those places and at least if they break even, that's really how you scale the fastest, I believe.
Yeah, well, especially here when properties are going up at the rate they're going up. But that's everyone in Ontario right now, in Canada for that matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. A lot of people kind of got out there like, I don't have to sell. I can take my $200,000 and buy somewhere else, and that's what made sense these days, right? Mm-hmm. So,
tell me a little bit about your portfolio right now. Like, what are you hanging on to right now in your portfolio?
So right now in the portfolio, there's we got a triplex on Brant Street. We have a triplex on a street called Leland. So that's 3 townhouses kind of stuck together, full basements. We also have a 4plex on the Prospect, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
I just had a property in Waterdown, 2.5 acres with a shop on it, which I just sold.
Oh, I was going to ask you, you have a gym there?
Yeah, there was a gym running out of there, and there's also a woodworking shop in the back.
Yeah.
It's like a 3,000 square foot shop off the back of the house. So that house, when I lived there, was pretty much rent free because you got the people in the back paying for my mortgage, and I literally was living rent free. So that was really good for me. We have 2 new builds, trying our hand on new builds in Thornhill. So they're being built right now by a builder.
Gotcha.
So,
you're hiring it out.
Right. So we're waiting for those to be built. We have a place on Lockhart Street, which is downtown Burlington. So I'm trying my hand on a new build, but obviously, with permits, it's the demo permit and getting everything turned off and setting it up. And if, the tree fencing was this far off, then you got to redo it and have them back. Right. So I'm learning.
Where on Lockhart is this?
So it's right at the end of Lockhart.
Oh, all the way down against the highway?
Yeah, there's a
dead end street,
a court down there.
Yeah.
Bought that place for $6.25. So nobody lived there for like 15 years, which it belonged to a real estate guy. He had over 75 properties around Burlington, and some of these places were inhabitable. I don't understand how he kept them. Nobody was there for 15 years at a home. So I'm not sure if he's
no mortgage. Right?
He could have been paying the property tax, or he's paying something still, right? So
right, of course, insurance.
I don't know why he kept them, right? So we bought that for $6.25, and a home just sold, not a new build on that street, for $1.379. So there's some money to be made. Hopefully, the lumber prices stay the same. And
it was a sneaky little neighborhood that no one knew about. So
right in the back corner there,
the secret's sort of out though.
Yeah, there's a little cul-de-sac back there. Not a lot of people know. But now, being close to the highway is,
that's the downside there, because that is noisy.
It's got that big concrete wall there, so hopefully the noise reduction is okay. But the lot's a nice lot, and hopefully we're going to build a bungalow. Keep it to that.
Oh, so you're just knocking it down?
Knocking it down. Going to build a bungalow. Keep it for that local Burlington baby boomers crowd that just want the one floor, right?
Somebody will take it though. Like that. I mean, even though you're right beside the highway there. I mean, like you said, you got that wall. Those are actually made of wood. Funny story.
I actually was looking at it.
It's a composite wood.
Yeah. Is that what it all wood chips and all that stuff? It's just wood
chips.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason fiberglass, but you're lucky now that I think about it. It's wood chips.
Not to get off topic here,
right?
So it's just what Burlington's turning into, like the density here, being a bedroom community to Toronto, and it's got some industry here too. Like the density here, the condos going up here, like it's insane. And that's going to wrap around into Hamilton too. I think the condo movement there is going to really intensify.
Downtown, being built right now, like crazy, right? So I just, with the real estate, a lot of people try to test out different places, but I'm a type of person, I like to, get into what I know, right? The other thing with the unfair advantages is I go into a lot of people's homes. My company, we go into, between 40 and 50 people's homes a day.
Are these lead gen for you? Do you find leads to buy from this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we go into people's who have fourplexes and triplexes and sixplexes. So we go there and help them and fix their issues. And a lot of people have pushed buildings onto us. I got one that's in the works right now with one of my clients that he's done. Fourplex, it's in really good condition. And TJ, my son doesn't want it anymore, and we want to get out because I'm a bit of a yapper. I don't tell people what I do, but I let people know, hey, if you're ever thinking, even if I don't have the money, I still let them know. If you're ever thinking about buying or selling, let me know. I'm interested. Just pack your stuff up and go.
And what does that conversation usually go like if they bite?
Well, they'll obviously tell me to sharpen my pencil, and a lot of people. Really depends actually. If you have the money, they will sell it to you. But like I can't bite and take off.
But are you getting discounts on what you think they would go for, or is it more just getting access to it before everybody else?
So I think it's getting the access to it before anybody else, because like you said, right now in this market, people can put up their home for whatever they want pretty much and get it. People are paying 100, 200 over asking still until now, 50 grand over asking. We got 100 grand over asking on the place in Waterdown, and we had it up for like a week. So the market's still hot right now. So a lot of people are thinking that they're going to get their big bang for their buck for their home, but if you can at least try to get a VTB off them and convince them that way, to divert that for a year or two until you can get a mortgage, right? So that's where again the advantage comes in. So some people wouldn't think that you'd buy their home in that condition. There's a lot of people that would go into their home. It's
Yeah, and I think, that's the incredibly unique benefit you have of being in their homes. Like a lot of them are self-conscious. They don't want to list. They think they'd have to do a bunch of stuff. You just say, you know what? Let's just put something together here. This is my business. I can take care of it. I don't care. You walk away.
And people love that.
Yeah.
We go into a lot of homes where there's people that are hoarders and whatnot. We don't care. Because there's different types of people, but those are the types of people where my brain starts to click in and say, hey, start planting a seed in this person's mind where if they ever want to go, I will help you. I'll throw everything out. I'll get a crew in there. And that's when we can do a private deal,
Yeah. For your VTBs, are those on those type of houses too? Like the ones you're finding from these sellers that just don't want to deal with it, want to get out? Or is this more on the bigger stuff?
No, more on the bigger stuff. A lot of these people that I feel like they want to sell, they want their money.
They want their cash. Okay.
And that's the reason why they're selling, right?
Yeah.
So, but the people on the bigger deals, I feel like because they get scared that the deal might be on the market for too long, they'd rather just sell it to you and maybe give you a partial VTB or at least help you out with the down payment and whatnot.
So if you're doing a partial VTB, is that a second position VTB behind your
behind the first?
So you'll go with like an Equitable or a home trust, and then the buyer, the seller will give us the rest on that second, right? Right. Okay. And those B lenders, they're totally fine with you getting as much as you can as far as down payment, or do they want to see you have some money in the deal?
Well, they want to see you have at least 20% in the deal. I've been dealing with Home Trust and Equitable Bank. They're not really my best friends, but they've seen my portfolio and how I've been doing it for the last 10 years, I'd say. So we've created that sort of friendship, I guess, and with them. But a lot of the times we find that if you're going with Equitable and you're going with places like Home Trust, they usually want you to put at least 30% down. And then
now you're just referring to them compared to what they're put.
Exactly.
So they're willing to give you 70%.
They're willing to give you 70%, and then you can also have the VTB come in a second after that kind of thing, right?
Can you get a full 30% with them? It's been so long since I dealt with them.
That's what we've been getting.
So you're zero into these deals. That's the critical part. Yeah, I'm more and more convinced now, like having your own cash, sure, it can be good if you have a couple of deals you want to hang on to that wouldn't cash flow otherwise, that's great. But the growth pattern is seemingly with these people who learn to leverage well.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that when you have your, a portfolio, you can do blanket loans. There's tons of things that you can do to leverage other places that do have that equity in it, right?
And now are these VTBs, are these people actually securing on your other properties as well? No. So they're just comfortable. Do they understand that you'll have $0 in the deal when they write it?
To be honest with you, I think they do understand that, but they
don't get the significance of it.
Exactly. And the thing also is that a lot of these people know me or know of my business, right?
Yeah.
So they understand that, we've been around for 50 years, not myself personally, but the business, right? So we're not going anywhere. And they know that we're going to bring value into that building.
Well, it definitely helps. Yeah, your plumbing company, like I said, it's the most visible in Burlington.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're definitely one of the biggest around for sure, and that's what helps us, right? When you do good work and you're there for your customers, that's that's what keeps you going, right?
What would you say to people who are in this market, even in Burlington or a market like Burlington? People out in Vancouver or Toronto, where a lot of times the prices just don't justify cash flow. If you were starting from scratch and you didn't have your plumbing business, what would your angle be now?
Well, see, that's the tough part, right? Obviously, it would kind of deter you to do these kinds of things, right? But like you said, it's about taking that plunge, you kind of have to trust yourself and kind of trust the market, because a lot of people, I'm sure like yourself, we want to see cash flow. That's how you, elevate or keep your places alive, because I'm sure that breaking even is never really breaking even. A fridge could go,
right?
Thing could go, So there's a lot of things.
If you're not padding your numbers, yeah.
Exactly. So there's no such thing as breaking even. But what I would suggest to people is, if you can get a partner and maybe make things a bit easier for yourself, somebody that understands, as much as you do per se, and would put as much into the deal as much as you do. Sometimes it's hard to find partners where, you kind of have the brains behind the operation, and then kind of go from there, right? But if you can find partners that would, you put your money in together, because, building wealth, can't do it yourself. I find sometimes, you have to have people help you. I've had people help me my whole life, and I don't think a lot of people can say that I've done this myself, So I feel like,
but they'd be lying if they did,
So there, my brother and a lot of my family members have just always pushed me to, keep going and elevate, right? So if you can find a couple partners, get money together and find deals that make sense, then go for it. Because if you don't, it's tough now, because it's hard to get yourself into that Burlington market. A bungalow's townhomes are going for $1 million.
Yeah.
That's insane, right? So for somebody to buy a townhouse for $1 million, that's a tough pill to swallow.
So you're saying potentially, instead of, you both buy your own, but you're so highly leveraged that there'll be no cash flow even after you renovate it.
Exactly.
Maybe buy it with somebody else. You come in with a bit more cash, so that you're
less of your own money.
But now you've got a break-even strategy. And we both know that break-even in Burlington seems to be, over time, you're going to be able to push that up.
For sure.
And that's where you start to win.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you can do that, and if you can hold the property, then you will reap the benefits in the end. It's taking that initial plunge, because a lot of people like yourself might not like it when I say I don't care about cash flow, because I have a cash flowing business.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And I've said this a lot. Like, it's about concentration in your portfolio. Like, what's your concentration of negative cash flow in a greater portfolio?
Exactly.
It's all relative, right? Like, somebody who has 0 properties and 0 cash flowing business can't afford a cash flow loser.
Absolutely not.
But somebody who has 25 cash flow positive can afford maybe even a negative $2,000 a month, and that's fine. That's what makes up the difference, because not only with my plumbing company, we have other businesses as well that are bringing in revenue and can offset some of these things from the real estate. And to me, losing $500 on one building where my equity is going up, right? Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of people be like, TJ, you're crazy. Maybe somebody like yourself would be like, no, I need cash flow. We don't need the cash flow. We're trying to work on appreciation, and hopefully when we're doing this with the renos that we're doing as well.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and like you said, it's a situational thing. It's, for some people it makes sense, for some people it's insane.
Exactly.
And that's why everyone needs to make their own decision with that, and know what I always bring it back to, like, what can you sleep at night with? Right? If the property did go down in value 20%, is that going to break you? Right? Are you going to have a cash flow loser that's also underwater? And does that break you? Like, these are the things that people need to think about. For someone such as yourself, you'd look at that in the greater picture and say, not a big deal, I'll deal with it.
And a lot of the times though too is, people, like you said, you have to go, you have to do it. Because if you don't, then the market's going to go up. Values are going to go up. It's going to be harder for you to get into it, right? So if you can find a partner or two to buy these places and start now, it's a lot easier now than it is later on.
Yeah, I just firmed up on a trailer park.
Nice, that's what I like to hear.
And you know what? That's outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I'm partnered with a few guys on that one.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where there's so much to learn, and I like the partnership angle where we all push each other, bring ideas, and this is one of those things where you can do multiple little projects within the project that'll all make money. Like you talk about that office that you created on that one property. There's like potential for 25 offices on this land.
That's the thing too, is that, you know, you buy the land, you buy your trailer park, you know, and there's tons of opportunities now that you could do with that. More trailers,
glamping, you know? Airbnbs.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, there's potential for one site to generate $50,000 in revenue, right? See, that's where my head's at, like the scalability of it.
And that's where the business side, I believe, is, you know, good on you, because that's where the market's kind of going. And, you know, everyone wants to go to a cottage. Everyone wants to go to a cool Airbnb, and are willing to pay $500 a night, $1,000 a night. You know,
if it's unique enough, right?
You know, and that's awesome. And I'm really glad to hear that. Hopefully, it goes good for you.
Yeah. So it actually feels interesting for me, because for a while it's like I was just kind of holding pattern, and now just in the last little bit it's like, okay, boom, all the lots in Florida, trailer park, and now I'm looking at some other stuff too.
Sometimes it's like that. Even for myself, I find sometimes you bite off a bit more than you could chew. Yeah. You sell. Relax for a bit, but again, that money sitting around isn't
right. Yeah, I relaxed for a little too long.
Exactly.
Being honest, I mean, sometimes these things happen.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you got to be able to admit it. So, anyways, TJ, it's really great catching up with you. We haven't talked nearly enough, and we're in the same town. So
I really appreciate you having me on, man, and you keep doing what you're doing, because you're helping a lot of people out there, and I really appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Well, if people wanted to find you or follow you, where should we send them?
Well, plumbing company is based in Burlington, Oakville, so they can go to www.harbs.ca. Yeah. And they can follow us on Instagram at Harbs Plumbing.
Harbs Plumbing. And can I get you too, or are you a private account, TJ?
Yeah, they can follow me too, TJ Harb 9 at on the Instagram there.
Yeah. I'm sure people might want to just kind of reach out to you, pick your brain, or maybe watch your story. So
I appreciate it.
I hesitate to throw that out for people, because I know some people like get bombarded. For me, for instance.
Yeah. People like me. Hey, I want to be on your show. You know. So.
No, that was good. Yeah. So for the backstory on that is I just posted a story. Who wants to be on? Because I don't think people realize how I get guests. It's like almost entirely organic.
Yes.
I have like countless booking agents reaching out to me, and I can't even respond to them. There's so many.
For sure.
It's all like, who knows me? Who do I know? Who do I see doing things? And that's who comes on this podcast.
Local, right? So I really appreciate you having me on, give me the chance.
Oh man, I'm excited to launch this one. It was great. Like, how many Burlington investors do we get on this show?
I hope they can reach out.
Yeah, it's great. Okay. Words of wisdom before we go.
Words of wisdom before we go. Just don't be scared, because real estate is scary, and it's people's life investment, right? So I just feel like get in, go, work hard. I feel like these days that's a tough word to go by, and don't be afraid to put in some sweat equity as well. Yeah,
I see that in you, right? The 14-hour days, that's sweat, but you got to love what you're doing and believe in it, and then that doesn't feel like work, right?
No, it doesn't, because when you love what you're doing, and on top of it, it makes you money.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you could beat that. So
satisfying feeling. Like I've told this before. I used to sleep in my rentals as I was working on them and stuff, and I had a smile on my face, because I'm like, I'm changing my life. Like everything's changing as I do this.
And you and I are the same, because there's been places where I've, in my rentals, slept in the basement. So I know where you're coming from. You have renters living upstairs and. Yeah, he's smiling because buddy's paying the rent upstairs, right? So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I can't complain about it.
I think it's awesome.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to the next catch up. And
thank you so much. If you need me, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.